I made my way to an alley, a place off of the main road. I needed to rest for a minute, take a break so that I could get my bearings. The alley reeked of damp concrete and decay. Every shadow stretched long and menacing under the flickering street lamp. My back pressed against the rough brick wall, the cold biting through my shirt. My breaths came fast and shallow until Greg's voice echoed through the narrow space.
"Where art thou, Samantha? Come out and stop all this hiding."
He called, his tone deceptively calm, the kind of calm that preceded a storm. He didn't need to shout. His words slithered like smoke, curling into the corners of the alley and making it impossible to breathe. I knew this moment was inevitable. Running had been futile from the start. My legs ached and my head throbbed with the weight of everything I'd uncovered. My name wasn't Victoria, it had never been. I was Samantha, an imposter in someone else's skin, a pawn in Greg's monstrous game. I clenched my fists, trying to summon the courage to step forward. The cold light of the lamp caught his silhouette as I emerged from the shadows, his eyes narrowing the moment they met mine.
"Ah, there you are. I knew you'd come to your senses,"
he said softly, his lips curving into a faint, wicked-looking smile that didn't spell benevolence. I shook my head, my voice trembling but resolute.
"It's over, Greg. I know what you did."
His smile faltered for a heartbeat, a flicker of something, annoyance perhaps, but he quickly recovered.
"And what is it that you think you know, Samantha?"
I swallowed hard, my voice barely steady as the words tumbled out.
You killed Victoria. You buried her and turned me into her because you couldn't stand to lose her money. That's what you did. It is so despicable, so evil. You're an evil bastard.
Greg chuckled, a cold, hollow sound that echoed off the alley walls.
"Ah, well. So you've been piecing it together. Clever, but you're not quite there yet."
He leaned casually against the wall, crossing his arms as if he had all the time in the world. He pulled out a cigarette and a Zippo lighter. He lit it up and took a deep drag, something I've never seen him do before.
"Victoria wasn't the saint you think she was,"
he began as he exhaled deeply, his voice low and measured.
"She was controlling, paranoid, always digging, always suspicious, always ready for a fight. And you?"
His gaze softened, and for a moment, there was a flicker of something genuine.
"You were different. You were fun, Samantha. You made me feel alive."
I fell into a big and revealing flashback. The memories stirred, fragments of our affair bubbling to the surface. Stolen moments, laughter, the thrill of something forbidden. I'd betrayed my best friend. That much was now undeniable.
"But then you ruined everything."
Greg continued, his voice hardening.
"She found out about us, confronted me, and so what did you do?"
He pointed at me, his tone sharp as a blade.
"You told her everything."
The air felt heavy, suffocating. My mind reeled, the memory of my tearful confession to Victoria surfacing like a ghost from the depths. Her face, broken, furious, flashed before me, and I felt the weight of my betrayal all over again.
"She changed her will that night. She wanted to make sure I got nothing if she died. She even revoked my power of attorney. Spiteful. To the very end."
Greg said bitterly. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. My voice was a whisper.
And that's when you decided to get rid of me. Do you even hear yourself? You're a murdering son of a bitch.
Greg straightened, his expression darkening.
"You left me no choice. I couldn't trust you to stay quiet. So yes, I set up the explosion. It was supposed to look like an accident, something clean, simple. But Victoria, she wasn't supposed to be there."
You killed her. You killed both of us.
I said, my voice trembling with fury. Greg's face twisted, his mask of composure slipping for the first time.
"Victoria's death was an accident. She wasn't supposed to be there. You, on the other hand, you were a liability."
He snapped, his voice rising. The bile rose in my throat as he continued, his words cutting like knives.
"When I found you alive, with no memory, I realized I could fix everything. Rebuild you, make you into her. It was the perfect solution."
My voice cracked as I spat the words at him.
You stole my life, you erased who I was, and you stand here with no conscience.
Greg's gaze bore into me, his lips curling into a bitter smile.
"I saved you, Samantha. You were nothing. A nobody. I gave you a better life. a life worth living. And this is how you're going to repay me? And lest you forget, no pun intended, you helped kill Victoria, did you not? You were sleeping with her husband. You were her confidant. And so you risked her life when you exposed everything. This is all your fault, really. Everything would have been perfect had you kept that pretty mouth shut. But no, you had to suddenly be Mrs. Goody Two-Shoes. And it cost your friend, my wife, her life. When I found out that you were the one who lived, I paid a plastic surgeon a large sum of money to make you into Victoria. Damn good job, if I may say so myself. When you were holed up in that motel, I paid a department head at the station to point out where you were. Money talks, Samantha, but evidently not to you.
I backed away, my mind racing for a way out. My fingers tightened around the jagged pipe I'd picked up earlier, the cold metal biting into my palm.
Stay back, I'm warning you.
Greg took a step forward, his expression completely grim.
What are you going to do, Samantha? Run? Hide? You've seen what happens when you try to defy me.
I didn't hesitate. I swung the pipe with all my strength, the jagged edge catching him across the shoulder. He stumbled back, cursing, but he recovered quickly, lunging at me before I could swing again. His hands closed around my wrist, twisting the weapon from my grip as he slammed me against the wall.
You think you can stop me? You're nothing without me. You hear me?
He hissed, his face inches from mine. I thrashed and kicked, desperation giving me strength. I used the age-old ladies' move and kneed him in the groin. When my knee connected, he doubled over just long enough for me to slip free. I bolted toward the end of the alley, my lungs burning as I pushed my body to its limits. I found a fire escape and started making my way up. But here he comes, right on my tail. I wasn't fast enough, though. Before I could get on the escape that reached the third story, he was already on me, facing me.
It's over, Samantha. Come on home. Let's stop playing this stupid little game.
With all my might, I lunged through him, but it was to no avail. He was stronger than me. He grabbed me by the wrist to walk me back down to hell. But since we were so sweaty at this point, I pulled back with everything that I had, and it freed me. But the momentum sent me backwards, and I went over the second-story fire escape railing. I went down hard, the impact jarring every bone in my body. The world spun, and the last thing I saw before the darkness took me was a shadow looming over me. When I woke, the world was a blur of sterile white. Machines beeped softly in the background, and the smell of antiseptic stung my nostrils. A nurse leaned over me, her face kind and reassuring.
You're awake.
She said softly.
You've been through a terrible fall, but you're going to be all right.
I blinked, trying to focus.
Where am I?
You're in the hospital. You took quite a fall. Luckily, someone saw it and called it in, but don't worry, you're safe now.
The nurse replied gently. The door creaked open and a man stepped inside holding a bouquet of flowers. He smiled warmly, his eyes lighting up as they met mine.
Victoria, you're awake. I've been so worried.
He said, his voice soft and full of relief. I stared at him, the name unfamiliar yet strangely comforting. I think I remember. Loving him? He leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to my forehead.
Don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. I'll take care of you.
I closed my eyes, his words washing over me like a lullaby. Everything was going to be just fine. Or so he said.